I am amazed that a Home Secretary is so viewed that they have articles that have to be checked by number 10. Angela and I have seen people like David Blunkett, Douglas Hurd, and the thought that those Home Secretaries would be required to submit anything to number 10 is just barely credible.
You mean it says something about the calibre of people in the great offices of state that their work needs checking?
It shows their approach. Suella is a very able person. You don't get the legal qualifications that she got without being incredibly able. And that's what her behaviour, which is not just her comments about the marches. It started with comments about Muslims several months ago, then the gay and lesbian community, then tent people. So it's a series of things where she has quite clearly, because she is very able, chosen her words and then been utterly unwilling to adjust them, add caveats or whatever. She knows what she's doing.
So do you think that the Prime Minister then needs to get a grip and sack her or risk looking weak?
There is that risk. He's got to take his timing carefully. By nature, he is a cautious man. If you look at the way he handled the Dominic Raab case, where Dominic resigned, he looked at the issue, went through it in detail. He is not somebody who will be subject to enormous pressures wherever they may come from and respond immediately.
Right.
But I think we will know by Thursday at the latest. I think that's the timescale we're operating to.
Right. Angela Smith, you may not like what she said, but it resonates with a certain sector of the public, her allies say.
Maybe it does, but that's not the reason she made it, is it? She's made it, and I think a Home Secretary's role is to try and times the tension, you try and calm things down. You have a responsibility as Home Secretary. I find it extraordinary. She's got a message for the Metropolitan Police. She thinks writing about it in the Times newspaper is the appropriate way to go forward. I know it's lovely for the Times to have the article, but the Home Secretary has become the story rather than any part of the solution. Right. And we saw it the other week when she described homelessness as a lifestyle choice. There's quite a lot of speculation around Westminster that really what's behind this is she wants to be sacked. She keeps pushing the boundaries a bit further each time. And I think Robert's right. She's no fool. She chooses her words carefully. She knows what she says. She knows the impact it will have. And you wonder if this is a leadership challenge. So let's push the Prime Minister as far as he can, because eventually he'll have to sack me. If he does it this time, heaven knows what she'll say next. But it is irresponsible. I can't think of any other Home Secretary, and Robert mentioned Douglas Hurd and David Blunkett, but you can go through a list of them across both houses, both parties, and I can't think of any other Home Secretary who would behave in a way that she does.
Well, Robert, if she is indeed preparing a leadership bid at some point in the future, could you stay in a Conservative Party led by Suella Braverman?
It's the approach of the party and the views and the objectives of the party overall. There were people who were Jewish that stayed in the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn. One has to judge these things at a particular time. But as I say, belonging to a party is broader than just one issue at any given time.
What is there a risk that the Tory party now splits because it's got people like Suella Braverman who don't in any way reflect your thinking on the issues of the day, for example, and it's impossible to hold that together?
There's no question that people who set off on an aggressive course in one direction always endanger their political party. Suella is not the first person to do this. She's not the first person in any of the political parties. There have been others in other political parties over years that I've been involved in politics, and one has to judge it on the set of circumstances at any given time.
But you think there is a risk that the party splits after the next general election if you lose there?
I think the risk is overstating the power of the right of the Tory party at the moment. Under Boris and Liz Truss, it was much more powerful. And you and other journalists used to refer to the wing of the Conservative Party, the ERG, whatever it may happen to be. Now you refer to groups. And that's what's happened, is that Rishi has actually taken in some of the people who were viewed as right-wingers within his cabinet and within his ministerial team. So it's a very different state in terms of discussing wings as against groups, and therefore, excuse me, whether it would split, and if there were people who left it, how many they would be and where they would be.
Right, so there is a real danger that a bunch of Tories leave the party after the next general election.
There's a risk any time of any group of people leaving the Tory party or any other political party, depending on their circumstances.